On the Ozarks in 5, brought to you by Talking Rocks Cavern. Explore the beauty above and below ground at Talking Rocks Cavern. The Springfield Greene County Park Board reminding you to go play. And Roto-Rooter Plumbing and Drain Service. Call Southwest Missouri's best plumber today for a free estimate. Here are your hosts, Ethan and Sarah Foreheads.
And it is Friday. We made it to Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. It's going to be a wild weekend. It's going to be wet and cold. And I'm going to be sitting outside at soccer for 4 games. So
feels like fall officially after this weekend. Who knows? We might not ever go back. All right. The Reed Springs School District was the target of the latest major cybersecurity attack. School leaders say outside investigators found that the names, birth dates, social security numbers, health insurance information, and more was hacked into in a very sophisticated breach. Those affected will be contacted, advised on steps to take now. So the school district is working to clean that up, make everybody aware. It could happen anywhere, apparently.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I were another school district, I would be on my toes. I mean, although, what do? I mean, you hope that it doesn't happen.
Well, hopefully learn from this, because maybe, I don't know. They hired the outside agency, so maybe there'll be some lessons learned or whatever, who knows. All right. A Springfield businessman made it official. Mike Hamra is running for governor. He is the president and CEO of Springfield-based Hamra Enterprises, LLC. He says his experience in customer service, as well as problem solving in business, will serve him well in what could be the governor's seat. He is running as a Democrat.
Okay. And sticking with politics here, Willard Mayor Sam Snyder resigned suddenly yesterday, just before he was set to be impeached. He faced criticism for firing the interim city administrator. Snyder said he plans to run for mayor again in April, so that's interesting. And there's a lot going on in Willard, because you'll recall we told you about the former mayor and alderman, Corey Hendrickson. Well, he pleaded guilty to federal charges for stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from truck drivers at Prime whenever he was employed at Prime Trucking. He was also serving as mayor at the time. So that's
lots going on in Willard. Yeah.
Yeah. Willard's got some stories, man. Drury University is getting $70,000 in grant money to try to train up teachers. We talked about this over the last week or so. Other organizations getting money to try to keep teachers in their town and grow up their own teachers. That money will provide scholarships for 12 students at Drury's Monette campus. They're studying elementary education. Students can apply for the scholarship in the spring of next year, this coming spring.
All right. Sigh of relief in Houston, Missouri this morning. The high school volleyball team will be allowed to compete in the state championship games. After all, the State High School Activities Athletic Association has disqualified them initially from going to state after 3 of the girls' players were in a charity volleyball tournament together. Well, that is accidentally against Misha's rules, or they accidentally broke that rule. The district fought Misha on it, and sure enough, a judge okayed the team to play until the investigation is complete. So that means the case is not necessarily over,
right? But
for now, they can play.
Well, that's good. I'm glad the judge came up with that, because I mean, to miss the state tournament as a high school sports player of any sort would be just horrible. You'd remember that the rest of your life. And it sounds like this was an innocent mistake, a charity tournament, so it didn't really have an effect.
I was surprised because it was 3 players, not the whole team. So I understand same sport, same season, like, because then it's like seen as practicing as a team outside, but 3 players with a bunch of like fun, I don't know. I'm glad too. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. But. And it's, and then if it finds out that it was nefarious somehow, then they can vacate any wins that they would have gotten in the postseason, and the other teams would win. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Local sports is important. We know that. And local sports, the scene is being shaken up a little bit when it comes to conferences, just like it is nationally in the collegiate scene. The latest is that Glendale and Kickapoo high schools are joining the Central Ozark Conference, which will soon be a 10-team league. It follows, of course, Hillcrest joining the very newly formed Ozark Mountain Conference. So now you have the Central Ozark Conference, including Glendale, Kickapoo, Nixa, Ozark, Republic, Willard, Webb City, Joplin, Carthage, and Neosho. A lot of big schools. And the Ozark Mountain Conference, which is brand new. The newest member is Hillcrest, as well as Bolivar, Branson, Carl Junction, Logan Rogersville, Marshfield, and West Plains. So any way you slice it, those teams are going to be driving a while to play sports.
Yeah, that's good and bad. I used to love those long road trips, honestly, but the parents certainly do not.
Yeah, and
the bus with your friends.
And it's interesting that there's one big name that's missing from both of those conferences, and that is Parkview High School. So it may be the odd man out here. I'm not sure because I think it tried to get into the Ozark Mountain Conference. So
they got to find. They've got to find somewhere for them, right?
Well, no, you can be independent, but it's just odd. Anyway, and I think those start in 2024, 25. So this year, this school year, they're set.
Okay.
And the 23-24 school year, they're set. Okay. Phil Melcher is out with the St. Louis Cardinals. Haven't heard of him. I hadn't either until this, but he was apparently the team's director of security for Busch Stadium. Melcher was ousted for what team officials called very inappropriate and hurtful language that he used during a call with a business that's located in downtown St. Louis recently. So that's who knows what he said. But Melcher's been with the team for 6 years. Before that, he was a U.S. Army Special Forces for 13 years. So, you know, they tell it straight, those guys.
Yeah, I think so.
He doesn't sound like the type to mince words. So
right.
If he had something on his mind,
yeah,
somebody
we don't know
it.
him. However, yes. Yeah, I laughed when I saw his former career because I was like, well, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, it does. It does.
All right. St. Louis-based Enterprise Rent-A-Car, which everybody's familiar with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, they are now rebranding as Enterprise Mobility. Leaders there say it's a sign of what lies ahead in the way of electric vehicles coming, more carpooling systems that they help set up, etc. They rent daily about 1.2 million vehicles. That's crazy. That's a lot. That's a lot. The CEO says the company has a team that invested in early stage businesses like a mobile energy storage company. That's pretty cool. And an ultra fast electric vehicle charging company, among other things. So anyway, this rebranding is indicative, they say, of an ever changing mobility market. And it sounds like they are on the front end of that.
It's funny. I was reading that article, and they were talking about, you know, as we move more to electric vehicles, it's going to be new to a lot of people who are coming. We got to have the people in place to help them and show them how to do it. And I was like, yeah, that's me, because when I was down in Dallas a couple of weeks ago, I rented a car. It was a work trip, and I went to the car, and they said, "Okay, we have a Tesla for you." And I was like, "Oh, I don't want to. I didn't ask for a Tesla. I just want some whatever's cheaper than that." And they said, "Oh, that's actually cheaper than a regular car." And I said, "A Tesla is cheaper than just a regular gas car?" And they said, "Yeah, to rent it is."
I don't like it. I don't like it.
I said, "Well, okay, then I guess I'll take the Tesla." They told me nothing. I'd never driven a Tesla or an electric vehicle before in my life. I've ridden in one, but I've never driven one. There were no instructions that came with it. I was like, I walked out there, and there's no key. You hold a credit card thing up to the side of the door, and it unlocks the car. I don't know how you're supposed to know that. I don't know how to charge it. I've never charged it before, so I didn't charge it. I just turned it back in. And what else? I couldn't turn it off. So I had to call Jeff, my friend who has a Tesla, and I was like, "Jeff, I'm in this car. It's a work thing, and I don't know how to turn it off." And he said, "You don't turn it off. You just walk away." And I said, "You just walk away from the car?" And I said, "Does it lock?" He said, "Well, it should lock." I said, "Well, it's not locking." So he took me through some things, couldn't figure out how to lock it. And then I finally saw it on the screen, this little lock, like a lock that you press that and it locks when you get out. But it was quite an experience trying to figure that thing out. I can't imagine somebody older than me trying it, because it wouldn't have been pretty. I'll tell you this. I accelerated in that thing like a bat out of Hades. You know what I mean? Those things can go fast.
I didn't know we were going to take such a turn this morning.
Well, I'm just being honest with you. I was on some back roads, and like frontage roads. There was nobody else, so I slowed her down, and then I hit it. And man, it's like, have you been in one when it accelerates?
No, I've never been in one.
Well, then you'll experience it through me. When you accelerate in one of those Teslas, it's like you're on a roller coaster, one of those roller coasters it starts at 0 and then just goes. It doesn't shift. You just go fly. Your head goes back, and before you know it, you're at 75 miles an hour. It's unbelievable.
That's crazy, huh?
So it was fun. I wasted a lot of battery power doing that.
Yeah, man, I want a new car so bad. I don't want a Tesla, but my minivan. I keep looking at new cars like every day. It's dangerous.
Now's a good time to buy a new car.
No, not new. New to me. I've never bought a new car. I'll never buy a new car. Mark my word. Yeah. All right. Speaking of automotive, O'Reilly's is doing very well. Very well. That's exciting because they're Springfield based, right? They reported a bottom line gain of 11% in the third quarter with a net income of nearly $650 million, up from $585 million a year earlier. Leaders say it is their employees who make the difference. And yes, they do. O'Reilly,
they have great employees.
I'm a fan. Are so great. Yes, they come help whenever you're married to someone like Ethan, who's not a handyman. There's a lot of things he's very good at. That is not
a lot. May be a stretch.
A few. There's a few things that both of us happen to be good at the same things. So,
so we're out of luck.
Very, very well-rounded over here.
When we've got a problem that's not in one of these three very small categories, we're in trouble.
Anyway, go O'Reilly. Okay, and then finally,
listen, I'm a big fan of O'Reilly. They are donors of Convoy of Hope, big donors, very generous donors, and they do a lot for the community in general. So I'm a big O'Reilly fan.
They prefer me over you, just for the record. But they sent me a personalized keychain.
I don't doubt that. Yeah,
because they opened a store in my hometown of Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, USA. Population 2. They moved there. I got excited. And then the next thing I know, I have a keychain in the mail. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But if we're going to one up each other, then I win. And finally, Apple's subscription services. Yes, they will cost you more. All the above. Apple TV Plus is going up by $3 per month. Apple One, Apple Arcade, and News Plus going to cost more. So multiple streaming services or subscription services through Apple, just expect to see a price increase.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just a couple dollars a month, but you add that to Netflix going up, and it's, by the time you pay for all these streaming services and whatever TV service you have, I mean, you're paying more than what you used to pay for cable, which had everything. So,
right.
I don't know. We need to go back to cable.
Maybe what's old is going to be new again.
Maybe it is. Well, the kids will call it something different, and it'll be real cool. Yeah. Like they rebranded the the pressure cooker and called
the air fryer,
an Instapot.
Yeah.
And they rebranded the convection oven, and now it's
Ethan doesn't appreciate when old kitchen gadgets have been renamed and rebranded and are now more expensive and shiny.
They've improved them a little bit, but I mean, honestly, my grandmother was cooking in an Instapot, 50 years ago.
Yeah. Tell him.
All right.
Tell him, babe. All right. Happy Friday.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Have a great weekend. It's going to be wet and cold, so deal with that. We'll see you back here Monday.
It's time for Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather, sponsored by Scooters Coffee. Here's your host, meteorologist Abby Dyer.
Good morning, everybody. It is Friday. We have made it to the end of the week. We've gotten through a dreary couple of days, and I wish I could tell you that the dreary weather is going to go away for the weekend, but that wouldn't be true. I'm tracking a cold front that's heading our direction this morning. In fact, for our far northwestern counties, the cold front is through, and temperatures unusually warm this morning. I mean, we're in the mid 60s out there this morning. Don't be fooled by that number. Today is one of those days where as soon as the front comes through your town, you almost immediately get this strong wind shift. Winds will shift from the south to the north, and the cold air is going to start filtering into the Ozarks. So it's one of those days where we actually hit our high temperature pretty early in the day, and then the numbers go tumbling down through the afternoon hours. Typically, when we're seeing our highs, we're going to be dropping here in the Ozarks. And I think that front comes through Springfield about midday today. So we'll see the second half of the day feature the north wind, the crashing temperatures, and some rainfalls coming with it. So lovely weather to end the work week with. I expect that as we head into the weekend, kind of more of the same. We have the cold air in place. It continues to push all that cold Arctic air down into the Ozarks. And it's just going to be pretty dreary across the region. I am tracking that cold front that comes through today. That will result in more rain today through the weekend forecast. A few thunderstorms are possible. I mean, we're talking a few rumbles of thunder. It is not going to be severe weather. My bigger concern, however, is going to be with maybe too much water by the time we keep adding on Saturday and Sunday. We could have a few places in the Ozarks that are dealing with flooding. So a big heads up for you folks out there that have maybe gotten a little bit much already this season. More rain on the way, and it's going to come cold and with a north wind. Today, widespread rain showers all the way from Texas back up through the Ohio River Valley and the Great Lakes region. This is a really strong cold front, and it's this cold Canadian air mass that's sitting behind it. So as soon as the front comes through for us today, all that really cold air starts to pool in, and we're about to see some of the coldest numbers of the season so far with a hard freeze on the horizon for early next week. Temperatures today, they don't look bad, but again, don't be fooled by those highs today. We make it to the 70s. I think we make it to the low 70s here in Springfield. Places back to the south and east will be warmer than that. For example, places like West Plains, you may be in the upper 70s for highs today, simply because the front's taking a little bit more time to make it to you. Your numbers will crash as soon as the front gets there, but you probably won't feel the effects of that cold air until tonight. Now, we have this wind today, this morning. It's already pretty breezy out of the southwest. The north wind is going to kick in 15 to 20 miles an hour for that wind on Saturday out of the north, 25 to 30 miles an hour by Sunday with cold air just gripping the Ozarks. Really good chance for rain by Saturday and Sunday, as well as that frontal boundary gets hung up and does what we call stalls out over the Ozarks, meaning that it creates this boundary where we can see additional rounds of showers and thunderstorms. Through the weekend, I think we could see perhaps another 2 to 3 inches of rain that's beginning now through Sunday. That could be too much in some places. So flooding is a potential along low-lying areas, places that are prone to flooding. Remember the magic phrase, turn around, do not drown. 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. And sometimes it could be coming down pretty heavy, so we could see it pool up a little bit quickly in some places. That's going to be the concern for the Ozarks this weekend through Sunday, so do not let your guard down. Another thing to note, we haven't had a freeze yet. However, the temperatures are colder, which means the ground is colder and the soil just doesn't absorb water like it does in the springtime when we're in the peak of growing season. So a lot of that runoff can happen a little bit easier in the colder months. Cold air will definitely be a headline for us this weekend with temperatures crashing through Saturday and Sunday. And then the first hard freeze of the season is in store for us at the start of next work week. I'm thinking we're going to see numbers dip down into the 20s in spots. It is going to be really chilly across the region. In fact, most cities across the Ozarks have a really good chance of seeing a temperature below 28 degrees. That would be a hard killing freeze and end the growing season for anything that's still going. High temperature today, 71 degrees, but we hit that about 2 o'clock. Then numbers crash. If you're heading to Friday night football tonight, it is going to be cold, cold, cold. Prepare for that. Any trunk or treat events, Halloween things going on this weekend, make sure you dress the kids in an extra layer. Add a coat to the costume, put under a long sleeve shirt underneath. We have rain in the forecast both Saturday and Sunday, and not only will it be cold with rain, but there's wind too. So maybe that wind chill factor playing a role for us by Saturday and Sunday as well. We finally get the rain to come to an end by Monday, but that's when we have to be concerned with the really cold temperatures. Hard freeze possible Monday morning, again Tuesday morning, maybe again Wednesday morning. I mean, it's going to be really cold around the Ozarks, staying in the 40s as we head through Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. highs in the 40s and below average each of those days. That's the headline for us. Around the country making headlines. Of course, that first major snowfall event of the season, that's wrapping up today for the Rockies and the Northern Plains. In fact, the last few flakes will be flying here in the next couple of hours, putting an end to that first winter storm. Heavy rain, though, for the Southern Plains. We're going to get in on that heavy rain here in the Ozarks, and then much above average temperatures happening on the East Coast. Winter-like cold happening for the northern and central plains. We see that cold air really arrive for us by the end of the weekend into the early part of next week. All right, let's revisit that Around the Ozarks brain twister question brought to you by Scooter's Coffee. This is the question that I left you with yesterday, and it has to do with some Halloween history. The history of Halloween can be traced all the way back to which ancient civilization? I gave you the options of A, Romans, B, Sumerians, C, the Germanic tribes, or D, the Celts. Well, those of you that answered D, the Celts, you are correct. Halloween originally dates back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. The Celts, who lived 2,000 years ago, mostly in an area that is now considered Ireland and the UK and northern France, they celebrated their new year on November 1st, and somehow that tradition of their new year was morphed into what we now celebrate as Halloween on October 31st, of course, which somehow is next week already. All right, here is your brain twister question that I will leave you with and have the answer for early Monday morning. When was the last time there was a full moon on Halloween? Do you think that happened in A, 1992, B, 2001, C, 2020, or D, 2022? I will have the answer for you Monday morning, first thing on Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather. Thanks so much for listening this morning. I hope you find a way to stay warm this weekend, stay dry, and it's a good weekend to just stay inside. Watch some spooky movies and stay cozy. I'll have more weather information for you coming up again on Monday morning. And for more weather information all day long, you can check out aroundtheozarks.com. I will catch you right back here on Monday morning. Have a great weekend.